enforcement officers. Knowing that police brutality is a current problem across the country, I immediately ran after them, concerned for both of their safety. The law enforcement officer who had been hovering behind me made an attempt to stop me from exiting. It is important to note that he did not place his hands on me, but it is even more important to ask, why was it his instinct to try and prevent me from following them outside? I got outside of the conference center to see Chip being held against the wall, and he and Cynthia were informed immediately to leave by Sheriff Scott Walton. Myself and another 788 supporter were then informed to get in or get out. We were. It's on video. We returned to the forums, and sometime later, Dana, who is sitting here with us, stood up without any type of outburst, I might add, only to have 2 law enforcement officers swarm her, with one officer placing his finger directly in her face. I have to ask, what are these intimidation tactics supposed to do? Instill fear? Force us to sit down and shut up? Now that I have given the details of June 18th from my perspective, I would like to give a few details to you on Rogers County. In 2015, I was out gathering signatures for another medical cannabis petition. I've been an advocate since the end of 2014, by the way. I was set up on private property with the business owner's permission. A law enforcement officer, including Rogers County Sheriff's and Claremore Police Department, drove by me every 7 to 10 minutes. Yes, after a few drive-bys, I started timing it. During that same petition drive, I was informed by several Claremore residents that they were informed by law enforcement officers that if they were seen at the petition setup spots and were on probation, they would be subjected to a urine analysis test by their probation officers. When I called them out on this publicly on their Facebook pages, I was immediately blocked by the Sheriff's Department, and my comments were removed. So Scott Walton has had a problem with me since 2015, y'all. In June of 2014, Rogers County Commissioners say Sheriff Walton abused his power when he planted a camera on private property of a county commissioner while investigating possible misuse of county construction equipment. In July of 2014, former Rogers County Deputy Brian Kendall filed a lawsuit against the Rogers County Sheriff, the Sheriff's officers, and county commissioners, alleging they conspired to force his resignation after Kendall refused to go along with a phony affidavit that falsely stated that a suspect had consented to a search of her home. So they illegally searched a woman's home who did not give she did not give her consent. This information, as well as much more, can be found at Wirth, W-I-R-T-H, lawoffice.com. It is quite obvious that corruption and abuse of power are happening in Rogers County. How long has it been going on, and where does it start? I don't have the answers to that, but with the video proof from June 18th that civil rights are being infringed upon, I am calling for someone else other than me to find these answers. Thank you.
Good job. All right. So do you guys have questions? Any questions?
If, let's say you were putting on this event,
Sure.
I want to play
Yeah.
Would you have had to have paid for these deputies to do your security?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And
well,
I
let's back up. We've done tons of events and never had any security. Why would you need security?
And well,
There
yes.
is no need for security in a public forum.
I held a forum
You
at
held-
the exact same location, the Claremore Conference Center, approximately 2 or 3 weeks after they held their first forum in May. We had a turnout of about 30 people, and they asked me when I filled out the forms and paid the fee to rent the room, they asked me if I needed security, and I told them no, we do not need security.
But the point of that is, you know, somebody paid, I would guess, those officers to be there. I mean, you know, who was that? I think that's an interesting.
It's a lot of officers to
And-
do it for
and-
free.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
even if they were getting paid, more important to me is that the Facebook page that has been spewing out lies, the things where he says, I represent Rogers County as the sheriff. I've looked into 788. Vote no. This is why. That's illegal. Period. End of story. They are not allowed. He can do it on a private Facebook page all he wants. But when they're showing up with Rogers County on their suits, what do you think it represents?
And really the point of having this press conference is this. This has been going on clearly. I mean, by their testimony, and I'm sure you guys have heard, you know, from other people, that there's been things going on in Rogers County for a while that don't get addressed. And so we're demanding, really, and respectfully, you know, humbly, but we're asking for the OSBI and for federal authorities to get involved here. And it really is the jurisdiction of the FBI. The FBI has jurisdiction over, certainly if a crime is committed in the exercise of your civil rights, then the FBI has jurisdiction, and we want the FBI in here. I don't think Rogers County is capable of, investigating themselves. I mean, it certainly appears that way.
Well,
No conflict of interest.
But what I'm wondering is, do you believe Scott Walton volunteered his men, even though they were on the clock, on the taxpayer's dime? Do you believe Scott Walton volunteered his men to work that security event and the taxpayers paid for it? Nobody really did that security.
I think that's something that needs to be answered, absolutely. And if I have a business in Claremore. I didn't really want to pay to have officers at that event and pay for him to wring my neck.
And it was the
You know what I
same
mean?
amount of police force
Yeah.
in the first meeting that was held in May. It was the same amount of police officers.
And I was at First Baptist Church in Pryor Sunday night. I've got video on my Facebook page. I still have all the video. I lost count of the police officers.
They came in vehicles by two.
Mays County.
Mays County.
There were probably, gosh, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 cars altogether. And this was at a Baptist church. The DEA agent got up there. The DA got up there. I can't speak to the DEA violating any Oklahoma laws, but the DA sure was. And they did Reefer Madness for 3 hours. They had 6 experts that discussed it afterwards. No questions allowed. Now, they were very polite. I shook most of their hands, but it's a little intimidating to see Mays County Sheriff Department number 17, number 12, number 9, number 14. I'm like, wow.
With 4 of them at the door when you walk in.
There were 4 of them at the door when you walked in.
Yes.
So remember the 60s? Didn't we fix all this in the 60s? Really? You would think that we did, but apparently we didn't, because this literally rises to that same level.
Sit down and shut up.
Sit down and shut up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have any civil rights.
Yeah.
Sorry, we do. We do.
And imagine if I didn't have the privilege of being financially independent of somebody paying. If I didn't have the privilege of being a woman and being 57 and being willing to speak my mind, there's a lot of people who are dependent on the goodwill, and I want goodwill with a lot of people, but it's hard to see power being abused that way.
Chip, are you working with an attorney? And second, what has the ACLU said about your efforts to get the federal government involved?
Yeah, let's read the ACLU statement. I think that's
Well,
important.
I guess even separate from the statement, I'm just curious what sense they've given you that...
The ACLU is, they're ancillarily, I would say, involved. They have told me that they're talking to National, basically to get some direction about, their involvement here and basically how things go. Brandon McHugh is my attorney here in Claremore. So.
And what are the next steps then if the FBI doesn't respond?
I think we'll keep pushing for that because it's clearly, it's appears that there are a lot of issues in Rogers County, and we're concerned even getting, this heard, and we don't have a case number yet.
So I'd like to add to that. After I was told to sit down and shut up twice, a gentleman stood up and talked about a rare disease that somebody had. And he spoke eloquently and then sat down, and then he came over to me, and I do have the paper, gave me a folded piece of paper and walked out. And on it said, if the police harass you or try to intimidate you, please call me. I'm the president of the ACLU. Keep in mind, as we all talked, it's a little shocking. You're like, is this really happening? And so I kind of sat on it for a while, much for the same reason that you did, which is, let me think about it in the cold light of day. Do I really want to take this further? So I do intend to file with Mike Hunter for the DA in Rogers County, the DA that I saw in Pryor, the Pryor police, and the Rogers
and Mays County.
The various county people. And my intention is to go directly to their offices and have the filled out affidavits and then make sure I get the right names and numbers. I will have friends with me.
Yes.
So, in this day and age where you can record almost anything, you can hear his head being bammed into that door.
Yes.
You can hear it. It's thunk thunk.
From across the room.
Yeah, and by the way, the reason there's no recording beforehand is because there was nothing happening beforehand. Everybody's cameras were
On the
focused up
speakers.
front.
Why would we be looking at Chip all the way in the back when everybody's speaking
I was
in the
only
front?
3 rows ahead of him.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Walton didn't bother to tell us that the writer of the bill had been thrown out.
Mhm.
And some lady at the front towards the end says, well, is there anybody here who knows who wrote it? Like, did it come from out of state? You know,
That's funny.
I look back and I'm like, what happened to Chip? It's gone. You know, I didn't, because I was trying to pay attention to the speakers and I was trying to be respectful. You know, but when you're told sit down and shut up.
Now, speaking of recording, I spoke to Sheriff Walton. You know, I want to get both sides on this one. And he said that when he pulled up and got out of his car, his officers as well, there were already people out front taking video of them coming in. Do you have any comment on that at all?
I wasn't there.
Yeah,
at
we
that
got
point.
there 20 minutes late, so we didn't even get there when it started. It had been going for, in fact, I'll just tell you the story and take it for what it's worth. But Cindy and I, have been doing these events for a month and a half, right? Every night, speaking somewhere. And this was one night where I didn't have to talk, and I really didn't want to go. We went and had a nice dinner at Olive Garden. And I'm like, God, we really have to go. And she's like, yeah, I told, Ashley and Dana that we'd be there. And,
Don't leave me there alone.
Yeah, and so, okay, we'll go, sit in the back of the room. And it literally, that was the attitude, that I had in my attendance there.
I didn't want to go either.
So I didn't know for sure I was going until the day of, because I've also been doing a lot of work, working pretty much full time on this, and doing all these events. And I called my friend Stacy and I said, Stacy, you're gonna go? And she says yes, and she says, you've really got to wear a Yes on 788 t-shirt. And I went, oh, I really don't want to do that, but sure, why not? So Sheriff Walton claimed we were strategically planted.
Right.
Here's the deal. I didn't even know I was going. Stacy and I sat together because, you are
You're
making a
friends,
completely clear statement.
Mhm.
I was pretty sure you were going to go. I didn't know about Chip and Paul, Chip and Paul, sorry.
Yeah.
These two people. So, and everybody's videoing because it's really important to hear what people actually say. We appreciate the job the news media does, but it does have to boil it down to a couple things. And it's really interesting to
Well,
watch his head getting bashed in.
Let me ask you
Sorry.
a question. I mean, what do you think would have happened if there was no video at that event? What would have happened to me?
He said, she said.
Yeah.
So,
Which is still what it is, even though there's video. It's still he said, she said, and there's solid evidence against it. And Sheriff Walton has not issued an apology and says that he did absolutely nothing wrong by throwing someone out of an open forum.
in a military, again, that chokehold is used for, that's how you handle somebody's a crazed, wild felon. Again, if he would have just said, will you leave? I would have said, yes, sir. I'll leave. That's all he had to do.
I printed off the documents that you sent out earlier today. Is this the one that you sent to the Claremore Police Department?
Yeah, and that was sent via registered, certified.
We were just at the Claremore Police Department, and they pointed out that the address is wrong, that the letter was mailed to. So that.
Oh, well, that could have been, but so I spoke to the chief himself on Friday afternoon. After trying to call him and the mayor, after not being able to get a police report filed, I spoke to the chief, and he said, send it, certified letter, and that he would get me a case number Monday. So, I might have sent it to the wrong address, but I think they know that it's coming, and they certainly have my statement. They certainly have the Rogers County information that I provided, and the Rogers County Sheriff's Department has, again, my statement. And again, we don't have a case number for the Sheriff's Department either. So.
Have you gone to the police department to try and file the?
That's a little uncomfortable for me, frankly. Honestly, that can be done over the phone. There's no reason for me to physically have to be there. That's frankly very uncomfortable to think about doing that. So.
Have you spoken to Sheriff Walton since the incident?
No, I don't. I knew of Sheriff Walton. I'd seen like his Facebook pages and things like that, but I have no. I've never met the man. I frankly didn't really even know his name that well until Tuesday morning. So, yeah. All right, you guys got anything else? Okay, thank you guys. Much
Thank you
appreciate
so much
it.
for